Good morning. Today we are reviewing Unit 1, getting ready for our test, thinking about what kind of things we want to put on a help sheet, things to keep in mind when it comes to help sheets for our test. You cannot put examples on your help sheet. So you can't put, we were just talking about the square root of 81 equals 9. That's an example. You cannot put an example on help sheets. We can put definitions. We can explain things with words. We can put formulas when we get into formulas. We just can't put examples. Okay? So we're going to look at our 10 objectives that we've been working on and thinking about some things that we could put on our help sheet. So for CO1, you're going to put CO1, you're going to write that on your help sheet. You're going to write CO1, and you're going to write what the definition of an integer is. So look on your binder and write the definition of integer, a positive or negative number that is not a decimal or a fraction. It's important to know that an integer cannot be a decimal or fraction. You're going to write the definition of the absolute value. Absolute value is the distance from a number, the distance of a number from 0. You can put it is always positive, right? We talked about that when we were correcting. It is always a positive number. Absolute value cannot be negative. You can put the symbol, you can put that. That's not an example, okay? You can put the symbol are the two straight lines. That means absolute value. So the definition and some added notes to help us remember about that absolute value. And opposite. Put the definition of opposite. Two numbers, same distance away from 0. One's a positive, one's a negative. You cannot put examples of opposite numbers. You can't put the 5 and negative 5. That is an example. Okay? Any questions about objective 1? All right, so let's move on to objective 2. If you don't get finished writing out your definitions, you can work on that this weekend. You don't have to do it all right now, but you know what you should do. So for PO2, working with our adding and subtracting integers. We know what it means to add, we know what it means to subtract, but those definitions are kind of key because we want a number line. So you're going to put CO2, and we know if we add, you're going to the right on the number line. And if we subtract, we're going to the left on the number line. That is important to remember. And you can draw your number line. So you remember that if we are adding or subtracting, we start at the first number. And the key thing to remember is what direction we are going on the number line. So if we're starting at a -2 and we're subtracting 3, we're going to the left. So think of where you start and what direction you're going to go on the number line. And on the test, you can use the number line. If they give you big numbers like -17 minus 3, you don't have to go all the way out from 0 to -17, but you do have to remember that if you're at -17 and we're subtracting, we're going to the left. So think of where you're starting on the number line. If you're adding, you're going to count out to the right. If you're subtracting, you're gonna go to the left. I'm telling you right now, this objective, you look at it and go, oh yeah, it's so easy, I know how to do it. It's the one that the majority of people get wrong because they make simple math mistakes. So seriously, draw that number line on your test so you know which direction to go. Make sure you put the adding goes to the right, subtracting goes to the left, because when it comes time for the test, we make those simple mistakes. So put it on your help sheet to remind you not to make those simple mistakes. Any questions on this objective? All right, let's look at objective 3. This is a PO. We have to, the last one, PO2, PO3, these are ones that we have to pass. These are important. Multiplying and dividing integers. So you're gonna put PO3, and you're gonna put this whole chart on your help sheet.
Do we have enough room?
So should we be writing super big? No. Can we use the front and the back? Yep. So we don't want to write super big, and know that we can use the front and the back.
Just for like,
So what I would do, instead of using up all this space, I would just do a positive times a positive times or divide. Positive times or divide equals a positive. Positive times or divide a negative equals a negative. A negative times or divide a positive equals the negative. And a negative times or divide a negative equals a positive. So that's really all that we have to put on the chart. You don't have to make the big, huge table. You just have to remember, positive, multiply or divide a positive is positive. Positive, multiply or divide a negative is a negative. So basically, same signs equals positive, different signs equals a negative. Same signs, it's going to be a positive answer. If it's positive, positive. If it's negative, it's negative. It equals a positive. Different signs. You have positive and negative mixed in there, it will equal a negative. Any questions on this one? So positive, positive equals positive, negative, negative equals negative, negative, negative equals positive. Different signs with the positive and the negatives, it will equal a negative. And then you need to be able to do the math. So if it's negative 3 times negative 27, you look and say negative, negative, it'll be a positive, and then 3 times whatever I said. Okay, PO4, another power objective. PO4, rounding or estimating. So we need to know our place values for this. This is key, because if it says round to the tens place, we need to know where the tens place. If it says round to the 100th place, we need to know where the 100th place is. So what we want to do is make sure we put our place values on our help sheet. PO4, so you can put hundreds, tens, ones, put your decimal place. What is our first decimal place after the decimal? What do we call that? Zelda.
the tens,
Tenths.
then the hundredths, then the thousands.
Tenths, hundredths, and then the thousands. I do not believe we need to go any farther out. Any farther out of that for this. There we go. So you do need to know your place values. And then when it comes time to take the when we're taking the test, I always underline where it says. So if it says round to the nearest tenth, I look at where that 10th place is and I draw a little line under it. So I can look at the number after. If it is 5 or more, round up. 4 or less, it stays the same. We go down to that, stays the same. So you cannot put an example of rounding, but you can explain the rounding rules. Any questions on rounding? All right. Next objective. PO5, I can compare and order decimals. So PO5, you want to remember to stack decimals. So stack your decimals on top of each other so you're comparing the same place value. Stack decimals and compare same place values. So if our ones place are all 2s, then we're comparing the 10th place. If we've got 10th place, okay, this is not acceptable. I don't need to review this. I know this. I've done it for many years. And the fact that I have people being so disrespectful to classmates who actually want to review it and do well on the test is very disappointing. Please respect one another. When my back is turned to you, it is not time to crack jokes and be laughing. We don't have a lot of time left in class. Be respectful. Cameron, you're still laughing. Connor, come on. If you can't handle sitting at the table because it's causing you to get the giggles, move. I have no problem with it. Just do it quietly so we can continue on. Stack your decimals, compare the same place values. Any questions on this one?
Claire has a question.
Oh, thank you, Claire.
I was just like, can you not erase it?
I'm recording this,
Oh.
so it is going to be on, I'll put it on my YouTube channel. So you can watch it over the weekend, you can pause it and work on that help sheet. Okay, that's why I'm not leaving lots of time for you to write it, because it is being recorded. So you can watch it over the weekend if you need more time.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. CO6, I can add and subtract decimals. Big thing to remember for CO6, stack your decimals, one right on top of each other. Remember how to borrow and carry numbers. So you can look back on the objective, do a couple of them over again. Make sure that you remember how to stack those decimals. Decimal right on top of each other. If there's an empty place, what do we do with it?
Zero.
Put a 0 in those empty places. So right here, there's nothing in the thousands place up here, but there is here, so put a 0 in. So remember to put zeros in the empty places. If it's something that you're not going to remember, write it down. Put zeros in empty places. You know what you forget to do, you know where you're at, what kind of notes you need to leave for yourself to help you. CO7, I can write a value as a fraction or a decimal. What key thing do we need to remember about converting between fractions and decimals? What is our magic number, Zelda?
100.
100 is the magic number. put fractions to a denominator of 100. Whatever we do to the denominator, we do to the numerator. So if we have to multiply by 5 to get to 100, your numerator, you multiply 5 to get to the 100. You can write the friendly denominators that is in your binder. So we put, this is not examples, so you can put this, you can put, let me flip my page, you can put the 2 times 50 equals 100, 4 times 25 equals 100, 5 times 20 equals 100. So what we went through on this, you can write it on your help sheet. Okay, we're running out of time, so I'm not gonna write it on here, but look on your binder sheet. You can write this section about friendly denominators on your help sheet. CO6, I can write expressions in exponential and expanded form. So write what your exponent power definition is, write what a base is. Remember, the base is the big number. Write what expanded form is, the definition. So when we get to the test, we remember what expanded form means. CO9, the square root of the number. Remember, it's the number that you multiply by itself to equal it. CO10, write out PERMDAS. Write the levels that we have on CO10. So break it up. Don't just write PERMDAS, but say what each level is. The P, the parentheses, then the exponents and radicals, then the multiply and divide, then the add, subtract. Okay? If on Monday you have questions you're gonna ask me, Monday is just our practice test. So you will do okay. If you don't understand something, that's the time to come and ask me about it. So if you don't understand on Monday, we still have time before the test on Tuesday. Shh. If you are watching this at home, I hope you are well, and I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful